Hello and welcome to Blank Plate, a podcast for Swifties with an appetite.
I'm Sara, and I used to be a little kid with glasses and a twin-sized bed.
I'm Laura, and I'm a mess, but I'm the mess that you wanted.
And we've got a blank plate, baby, and we'll write your name.
Woohoo!
All right, we are here once again.
We're here in the pod. I think we should call our segment where we catch up. We should officially title it What's on Our Plate.
Okay. I like that.
And then we can also do our Taylor news then. So there you go.
Sounds good to me.
So what's on our plates? What's new?
I don't know. I feel like I don't have much to share. I don't know. What about you?
Gosh. Well, end of the school year madness.
Mm-hmm.
There's 5 school days left as we currently record this.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. So any teachers out there, Swiftie teachers, know that the end of the year is just always insane. There's no normal.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, our year started a little bit later than normal. And in my brain, Memorial Day weekend means Friday, last day of school, but it's not. We have another week. It's a thing. And it's just been a lot of middle school behaviors that are crazy. So I come home and I'm I've just practiced so much patience today, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. I miss that feeling of the end of the school year, you know?
Definitely a weird perk of being a teacher is that I feel that every year, but on a more adult scale. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also feel
cool.
Teaching separates my life into chapters in a weird way. I don't know what it's like to not have that.
Yeah, because you've always had that. That is something that I noticed after college. Once you have a full-time job, it's oh, yeah, you don't have a summer break. You don't have a winter break. It just keeps going. It just keeps going and going and going and going forever and ever.
I've never known it other than this, which is so weird. But it's
you and Luke.
Cyclical thing. Yeah. School, just school kids. Just kids going to school forever. But yeah.
That's funny.
Oh wait, can I talk do you have any other updates?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Really quickly before we get into our song episode today, I've been flooded with this Variety magazine interview clip series with Allison Williams, and I forget the guy's name, but they play Marnie and Desi from Girls. Did you watch Girls?
No. So you sent me these clips, and I truly have no idea who these people are.
Okay. So for anyone who's watched Girls on HBO, okay, I have to just give you some background. Mm-hmm. I, in freshman, sophomore, junior year, loved Sex and the City. That was my show. It was it's a Saturday night. I'm not going out. Me and my girls were watching Sex and the City or Law and Order SVU. So it was one or the other. And then when I finished Sex and the City, that's exactly when Girls started to be released. Mm-hmm. And it was called the new Sex and the City, even though it's really nothing like that at all. It's millennial cringe to a T. The 4 characters are kind of all the worst.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because Lena Dunham is the ex-girlfriend of Jack Antonoff. Mm-hmm. And in this interview series, the first clip I saw, I was oh my God, how did I not piece this together? Because Marnie and Desi are the tortured poets. If only you knew these characters, Sarah, okay, Marnie is this very type A, prim and proper, traditional type of girl who just decides that she's going to be a singer and the cringiest of singer-songwriters. Her lyrics are so bad, so corny. And she meets Desi, who's this hipster, very cool musician guy who listens and plays Bob Dylan covers, and they make a band together.
Okay.
And they fall in love, and he has a girlfriend, but it's this tortured romance initially. Okay. They eventually are awful together, like awful together. And they write the cringiest, like Lumineers style of music, like hipster indie type of music that has been written by Jack Antonoff, which I didn't know that. So apparently Jack Antonoff was writing their fake band's songs, but he was like composing the music part, and Lena Dunham was writing the lyrics, which is perfect because Lena knew the cringe factor to lean into, and like Jack is obviously a very good singer, like songwriter. So Marty and Desi as the tortured poets were like, Desi is like this guy who definitely owns like film cameras and, you know, typewriters. And Marnie like is like the equivalent of Taylor Swift. It's so funny to me. It is perfect. So I'll have to link this Variety interview in our show notes, but if anyone here hasn't watched Girls, I highly recommend, especially if you're a millennial, because it was coming out during peak millennial times. Like
I really missed the boat on this one.
Oh, you have to watch it. I feel like
I do.
I don't know. Well, I don't know if you'd like it.
I think that's partially why I haven't watched it, because I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'll hate it.
You're either going to go one of two ways. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I haven't rewatched it for a while, so maybe I'll rewatch. But
yeah.
Anyway, that's been on my algorithm, and I love it so much.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, today we're talking about one of your favorite songs.
Yes.
On Tortured Poets, on the anthology edition, which is I Hate It Here. So this is track number 23, which sounds ridiculous.
Unhinged.
Yeah. Although, what number is it if we're only counting the second half?
Good question. Let me look that up. On the anthology, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep.
Okay.
7. Because 1, 2, 3. How Did It End was track 5. So its equivalent on the original album is Fresh Out the Slammer, which is interesting.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this song. It's been co-written and co-produced with Aaron Dessner, which everyone knows I'm an Aaron girly.
Yeah.
And I think it was Kelly who maybe texted about this song.
Yeah.
And it got us in a conversation where I was like, I'm unpacking the first verse, because the first verse like totally threw us for a loop. And I think I like finally I thought that I cracked the code, and anyway, I was like, we have to do an episode about this song because there's so much to say.
But yeah, let's start with our personal associations with this song.
Yeah, you go first.
Well, I definitely am not as attached to this song as you are. Like, I like it. I think it's great, but I don't know. This one might be a grower for me over time. I do love the part of this song that speaks to those of us who love to escape into books. That's definitely me. Although it's also quite depressing, in this song. But I get that, because when I was going to say when I'm depressed, but honestly, it's been like for like the last 5 years, I almost only read romance novels. Because when I read, it really does need to be an escape for me. And I struggle sometimes, even though I really like things like thrillers or something, like mysteries sometimes. When it comes to picking my next book to read, I'm just never in the mood for that lately.
We go through phases. And honestly, what's wrong with liking romance books? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so it's like for me, any novel I'm reading, it has to be something that makes me feel good. Like, I have abandoned so many books in the last couple of years because even if they are romance, if they're depressing me, back, give it to the library, get it out of here. Because I want to escape. This is my escape.
Yeah.
I don't want to be depressed. I want to feel like butterflies and rainbows when I'm reading my books.
Totally fair.
So in that sense, like I relate to this song a lot in like one way or another. I do also love the line about which decade would we want to live in, which we'll get into later. And I think in general, this song is an earworm that gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a beautiful, interesting little song.
Yeah. Were you a book girly growing up? Like, did you always carry around a book and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, like that's why I kind of,
because that was me too.
I miss the pre-iPhone era because I used to always keep my book in my purse or something. So if I was anywhere that I had 10 minutes to just like wait around for something, I was reading a book.
Absolutely.
But now I'm always on my phone.
Yeah. I was chronically the girl who is like, I got the book first and I'm going to be the first one to finish it. Like it was bad. But yeah, I feel like I connect to this song because this is a song that I wish I had in like 5th grade, because I was definitely coping with some maladaptive imaginary situations, which I had to learn about. So, okay, this whole song, before I talk about my thing, this whole song is basically the depiction of maladaptive daydreaming, which is quote unquote excessive daydreaming, a condition where someone becomes so immersed with their imagination that it interferes with their daily life. It's a coping mechanism for mental health, like anxiety, depression, like all of that.
So you did this in 5th grade?
Oh, I definitely had some maladaptive daydreaming issues. Like,
really? Sure. Like you were daydreaming too much?
Oh, okay, first of all, I was like the slightly gifted kid who was like bored all the time in class.
Yeah.
And I would finish my work, and then what would I be doing there? I'd be staring out the window, like rereading, like, or reimagining circumstances that I read in books. Like, that's literally what I would do. And like, in 5th grade, 4th and 5th grade primarily, would constantly be like in my own head, like in a different world, just like living primarily in like the Harry Potter cinematic universe, like up here. Like but like seriously, I loved reading, I loved daydreaming, and this is what this book is about. It's about escaping reality through like excessive daydreams. So yeah, I feel like this song is for the bookworms, slightly depressed, anxious daydreamer girlies who definitely love Mr. Darcy a little bit too much. Like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? And it also gives me The Lakes, which is one of my other favorite songs from, Folklore. Yeah. So it's, for me, like, this is it. So
yeah, this is it for you.
Yeah, this is my type of song. So I love this song. Also, gosh. I want to rewatch our first like listening to this song, because I'm pretty sure we both were like, wait. What?
Yeah, we're just like, okay.
Huh? I remember like we had to be like, okay, like we're almost there. We have to get through this next couple songs. And then that first line hit and we were like,
yeah.
Okay, pause. Like,
so a couple other songs that have similar themes. Mentioned The Lakes, which this also reminded me of The Lakes. Like especially, where did I put it? Oh yeah. Take Me to the Lakes Where All the Poets Went to Die. And also, the whole like escapism, gardens, like I want auroras and sad prose. I want to watch wisteria grow right over my bare feet.
Yeah, here's that.
I want auroras and sad prose. I want to watch wisteria grow right over my bare
that low range.
'Cause I haven't moved in years, and I want you right here.
Also, the concept of just like, I don't belong here. Like, take me away, you know?
Yeah. And I do think both songs have a little bit of a similar sound, but The Lakes is much slower.
Yeah, for sure. other songs with the same theme. I Know Places, Wonderland, like the escapism to another reality. And also like we know that on the Eras tour, like she's talked about how she imagined herself as like a single woman in a cabin off the shores of the coast. And it's like, girl, like it's giving maladaptive daydreaming.
Yeah,
like,
it definitely sounds like Taylor is doing some maladaptive daydreaming during COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
But we got 2 albums out of it, so
no complaints.
No
Let your imagination run. Yeah,
seriously.
For sure. And like, yeah, so Folklore, Evermore at large is literally like the same sort of theme, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna go like verse by verse and, you know, unpack stuff like a lyric analysis. So we've been mentioning this opening line. So let's listen to that.
Quick, tell me something awful, like you are a poet, trapped inside the body of a finance guy.
And we were gagged.
We were so gagged. You and I have very different ideas about what this means.
Yeah. What do you think it means?
Okay. So I think it means quick, tell me something terrible. Like, okay, first of all, I don't know what the hell she means by like you are a poet stuck inside the body of a finance guy. I don't know if she's saying to like say that to me, like tell me you're a poet stuck inside the body of a finance guy, or tell me something awful as if you are a poet but you're stuck inside the, you know, like I don't know what she means. But just the whole tell me something awful idea, I take that to mean like I feel terrible but I feel like I shouldn't, so please quickly tell me something terrible so that I have a reason to feel this way. And or tell me something awful so that I feel less bad about my own situation. Does that make sense? I hear that.
Yeah. It is interesting to think like, is this her saying like, tell me something awful, like tell me something like so tragic because you're also a tortured poet. Tell me something awful like you're hiding or disguising who you really are inside, like that you're this buttoned up finance guy and inside you're a poet who's having to be this like secret artist. So it's like, get over it and get over with it and tell me what you're hiding. And I want to over romanticize you. Like I want to look at you and be like, everyone sees you like you're a finance guy, but I know you as the real person. I'm going to over romanticize you, because that's what she is doing for the rest of this song, is that she's over romanticizing everything.
But the other night I was reading my current romance novel, Funny Story by Emily Henry. It's the new Emily Henry book of this season.
Okay, writing it down for the show notes. Funny Story.
And the main character actually says to someone, like when she's having a moment where she does feel bad, and she's talking to him about how like she's kind of confused about her feelings. Like, should I be feeling bad, or am I just feeling bad because I'm used to feeling that way? And she basically says, quick, tell me something terrible. So I think it's more like what I was thinking, where it's like, I feel bad, but I don't really know why. So give me a reason to feel terrible. Because it's confusing to feel this way when I feel like I'm maybe not allowed to feel that way.
Yeah. Do we think that she's like interacting with someone and this is what sparked the whole song? Or like, what is this? Like, what is she trying to say by having this be her opening line? Because there's no other mention of...
Yeah, is this the only part of the song where she's seemingly speaking to someone else rather than like to us,
pretty much,
the listener?
But yeah, I don't think there's any other mention of other people. It's all in her own mind. So what's the point of bringing up this other person? But if she does feel so awful, like you're saying, like, of course she's going to escape to her inner world. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it is like, I feel awful. Tell me something awful. Because then I have a reason to go into my own head.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know.
Still a mystery. The next verse is so devastating. Let me play that.
Tell me all your secrets. All you'll ever be is my eternal consolation prize.
Okay. So this is why I think that she's trying to over romanticize someone, because tell me all your secrets, like expose everything there is to know about yourself. It doesn't matter, because the world is going to view you as a reward for myself after everything has fallen apart. This is my consolation part for surviving my life. Like, congratulations, everything fell apart. Your life is awful. But look, you have this amazing person. That's your consolation prize. And that's why I feel like the over romanticizing of like, tell me all your secrets, like tell me everything. Like, also expose who you are so I can over romanticize you in my head. I don't know, like the eternal consolation prize. How sad is it to think of someone else as a consolation prize for your own disaster?
Yeah.
Oh,
but also like these two lines together, they just confuse me. This song is a lot to unpack.
Yeah. That's literally why we're trying to do it. It's like, it's not a, it's not a gel pen. It's not,
it's not straightforward.
The quill is quilling, like, for sure.
It is, but like, hold on. I need to pull up the lyrics and see. And
then like the next line talks about her explaining why her life is awful. So here's that.
Yeah. You see, I was a debutante in another life, but now I seem to be scared to go outside. If comfort is a construct, I don't believe in good luck, now that I know what's what.
Right?
Yeah, because this makes me think of her hiding out before the Reputation era, because it was like during the 1989 tour and everything, she was on top of the world. She was like the belle of the ball, a debutante. But now I'm afraid to go outside, because then everyone turned on her. People hated her. She also talked in her Time magazine article about how she was like afraid to take phone calls because of everything. Like she thought she was being recorded. She couldn't trust anybody. So saying, you see, I was a debutante in another life, but now I seem to be scared to go outside. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, it's giving nobody physically saw me for a year from Miss Americana. Like, seriously.
I wonder if this whole song is also kind of like a way to say that maybe her relationship with Joe was her escape, and until it didn't work anymore. Because like, quick, tell me something awful, like you're a poet stuck inside the body of a finance guy. Maybe that's Joe. And from what we can tell from this album, Joe was a depressed girly. Unfortunately. So maybe
also, is Joe the consolation prize that like, well, she sucks, but like at least she's in a happy relationship now. Now she doesn't have to write breakup songs. Like,
and
maybe
like I can never give you peace. Like he or anyone would never be what she truly views as the prize.
Right.
So yeah, like tell me all your secrets, but you're only ever going to be my consolation prize.
Right. For surviving the disaster of my life. Like,
yeah,
I see it. Also, we know that her and Joe wrote Folklore / Evermore together, this magical escapism world. So it would make sense if he were a subject. of a song about maladaptive daydreaming. So
yeah,
it's an interesting concept. I like it.
yeah. I didn't like think about that until just now, but I could see that being one way to read it.
Yeah.
Because then also this song in general, I think a lot of us are reading this about her being in that relationship and escaping to other places because she was unhappy.
Yeah. Could take it a bunch of ways. I mean, we're going to get into this later, but a lot of people think that the mention of secret gardens is her relaying that she wrote Folklore / Evermore being a secret garden. Mm-hmm. And then later it changes to Lunar Valleys, which could be midnights. But that's another thing. So like escaping to these, the act of songwriting is with Joe is the way of coping.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is fascinating. Also, isn't it so sad to the line, I don't believe in good luck. Now I know what's what. Basically, like, because the world told me that I am awful because the world turned on me and I know what's what now. I don't believe in being like the lucky one. Like I know the deal now.
It's very cynical.
Yeah. Oh, this song. Okay. Speaking of secret gardens, so here's the first chorus.
I hate it here, so I will go to secret gardens in my mind. People need a key to get to. The only one is mine. I read about it in a book when I was a precocious child. No mid-sized city hopes and small town fears. I'm there most of the year because I hate it here.
I love that line.
I hate it here.
I love good. No mid-sized city hopes and small town fears. This is talking about her being a child and dreaming of Nashville, a career in Nashville. Mid-sized city hopes and small town fears. Her being someone who grew up in a small town, pretty sheltered. Yeah. It's crazy how much we can read into her lines and like know what she's talking about.
Well, that's why when people are like, well, I don't understand what this song's about, I'm like, okay, how do you not know this? Like, it's like, well, Taylor Swift was born in West Reading, and that was a small town, and then she just always dreamed of going to Nashville, a mid-sized city. But like, we know that because it's lore.
Like obviously.
Yeah. Right. Because we're unhinged in the asylum that Taylor Swift made us. So, you know. Yeah. Oh, but I love the mention of Secret Gardens. Have you read The Secret Garden? It's such a good book.
I read it when I was younger.
Also
I need
great
to
musical.
Reread it. But
great musical.
I feel like I remember this book being very depressing. And
I mean, yeah, it's
reading the synopsis of it, I was like, yeah, this is a depressing book.
I don't know why in my head, but I always get The Secret Garden and A Little Princess confused.
I was just gonna say, like, in my mind, they are in the same category. Yeah, they're like on the same shelf.
I know.
In my mind.
And like the plot line is similar.
Yeah. Like, what was going on back then?
I don't know, the over romanticism of like a very strange time, obviously, but but The Secret Garden, like the book, was made in 1911, right? And it's about like a girl who's young. She lives in India, and she's like from a wealthy family who's British, and then basically like she has servants and she's like kind of spoiled and awful, and then the cholera epidemic hits and her parents die. And then she is orphaned and she moves to England, and then like she lives in this estate, and then she like the main like housekeeper, Mrs. Medlock, shuts her up in a room and tells her that she can't go anywhere, which is like, okay. By the way, being shut up in a room and told not to explore the house,
explore the garden.
I think a lot of Gaylors can read that as being trapped in a closet. Like, hello?
Yeah.
Wonderland vibes. Anyway, Mary discovers a key. The only key is mine. that unlocks a secret garden, and basically like she goes through a garden wall and then she's in the secret garden, and then she starts to tend to the garden and makes herself a kinder, considerate, outgoing person. So obviously, like I said, like a secret garden in terms of like Taylor could definitely be the creation of the Folklore Evermore worlds, because that's very like lakes and gardens and wisteria and all that beautiful stuff.
Right.
And also, like we were saying, it reminds us of Seven. Which, here's that line.
Please picture me in the weeds before I learn civility. I used to scream ferociously anytime I wanted.
I love that line in Seven.
I know. But it just reminds you of like childhood innocence and like being in a garden and swinging your legs around. And
well, and you mentioned she says pack your dolls in a sweater, we'll move to India forever, which I never noticed.
Yeah, so like that's a line from Seven, and that's definitely a reference to A Little Princess or Secret Garden. Like it's the same storyline basically. And like I'm like, okay, is this another like tie-in? Like this childhood innocence of wanting to like tell your friend to pack up their dolls because that's the only thing that's important, and then they're going to move to this faraway land of India or wherever she's dreaming up. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
And then so this is the second time she used the word precocious on this album, because she uses it in But Daddy I Love Him. Saying
dutiful daughter, all my plans were laid, tendrils tucked into a woven braid. Growing up precocious sometimes means not growing up at all.
Also, doesn't Seven also mention braids?
Yeah. What line is that? Hold on. Braids. Your braids like a pattern. Love you to the moon and Saturn. Duh. Like
duh.
So yeah, we got some tie-ins.
We definitely have some tie-ins.
Precociousness.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's interesting. And of course Seven is on Folklore, so
right. Yeah. Interesting. Who would have thought that I Hate It Here, Seven, and But Daddy I Love Him would be tied together?
This is why we love her. Like, it's such a maze. It's a hedge maze of craziness. Like, I love it.
So true.
Yeah.
All right, let's chat about verse 2, which was one of our favorites.
Yeah. Okay, so here's verse 2.
My friends used to play a game where we would pick a decade we wish we could live in instead of this. I'd say the 1830s, but without all the racists and getting married off for the highest bid.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I know when we first listened to that, we both were like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Girlhood.
Yeah, we played this game.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what would you say? Like,
oh gosh,
a decade that you said. Live in?
I think what I romanticize is the Pride and Prejudice era, but not all the like she said, without all the racists and getting married off for the highest bid. Without all that stuff, with all the like patriarchal nonsense, for me, it's just the living in a manor house in England, going for walks through the fields and just reading books and playing the piano. Like that, when I was younger, that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I still want to do that.
Yeah. That's a lifestyle I'm willing to adopt. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. My time period is 1920s Paris. Like,
okay.
Which we're going to talk about later with Midnight in Paris. So I definitely romanticize like the post Belle Epoque, like Hemingway and flapper dresses and like women being like young and loose and just like alcohol and Paris. Like that's my vibe, but I don't know what I would have said if I were younger. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what my answer would have been then.
Right.
Probably wasn't that.
Yeah, when I was like a kid, I don't know what I would have said.
I probably would have said the 60s. Like, I don't know.
I probably would have said like the 40s or 50s or something.
Yeah.
Like the time of Frank Sinatra.
Right. Like, we didn't know.
No.
Yeah. But it's a classic girlhood game. And I just love this idea of Taylor being a weirdo who says like the 1830s and everybody's like, okay. And then she has to mention the fact that, well, but without the racist and without getting married off. And everyone's like, oh yeah, like, all these times that we just said kind of suck.
Right.
Like,
yeah, which, I mean, we should probably talk about the backlash that she has gotten for this line.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't want to, like, discount anyone who feels weird about this line. But I also think that the criticism that I have heard of this line doesn't take into context like the next line, which is kind of pointing out what they're saying. Like, I think people are saying like, why'd you have to put in that line? Like, now it just makes me think about racism and stuff. And like, I don't want to hear about that. At least that's like what I've heard. But that's kind of the point where then she says, everyone would look down because it wasn't fun now. Seems like it was never even fun back then. Like the whole point is that she says that and it ruins the vibe.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah, that time did suck.
Right. Also, she definitely faced some in correspondence to this. She definitely faced a little bit of kickback with her song Timeless from Speak Now, the vault tracks, because she mentions all these times of like, oh, if we were in the 1940s or the 1950s, or if I was a 30s bride, like we would have been timeless. But like people are like, actually, I wouldn't have been because like I'm a person of color, and that's, do you know what I mean? Like she definitely faced some backlash, and I think like I don't think that she included this lyric to be like, let me preface this like without the racists. I don't think she did that, because if you read the lyrics, it's clearly her saying, if we actually think about that time period, it was actually pretty awful.
Yeah.
And that's why nostalgia's not that great.
Right. And also if she had included this part of this song, but didn't say that part about the racism and the sexism, then people would be saying like, why would you say that that time was when you wanted to go back to? When that time was terrible. Right. It's like, well, that's her point.
She can't win it either way.
No.
But I love the next line, which is about nostalgia.
Everyone would look down, 'cause it wasn't fun now. Seems like it was never even fun back then. Nostalgia is a mind's trick. If I'd been there, I'd hate it. It was freezing in the palace.
Yeah.
Nostalgia's a mind's trick.
I love that line.
Yeah.
But I was also going to say, so the whole decade game reminds me of the question about what is the female Roman Empire? Because remember when everyone was talking about how men apparently think about the Roman Empire all the time. And so we were trying to figure out what is the female equivalent of this. And the one thing we landed on was like imagining like what it would have been like to be a woman at other times in history. And how terrible it would have been.
Yeah. That's our Roman Empire.
That's our Roman Empire. And think about how, like, as much as it still sucks right now in a lot of ways, this is unfortunately like the best it has been. But yeah, like that seemed to be the most consistent thing, like just anecdotally from talking to people, is that idea of like, if I did live in the 1830s, that would have been so terrible. And the one thing I think about a lot is I would always wonder, like, if I lived at that time, would I have been a rebel? Like, would I have been some crazy feminist who would have put my foot down and been like wreaking havoc on the system? I don't know.
This is why we were made to be born in the era that we are, because we can't imagine ourselves any other way. Like, it's not in our mindset that we could be anything except like a feminist and, you know, political and all that stuff. I've heard that is the female equivalent of the Roman Empire, but I've also heard another one that I find myself thinking about a lot, which is Princess Diana.
Okay, what do you mean?
I feel like a lot of women's Roman Empire is Princess Diana, and the treatment of Princess Diana. Yeah, just like how she was treated by the royals, how the public perceived her, how, like, it's just so crazy that she died. Like, yeah, that's another one.
I can see that too.
Yeah. Okay, back to the song. We have to talk about how there is a lyric change in this verse. So instead of saying, if I'd been there, I'd hate it. If you listen to the Apple Dolby Atmos, like, stems, you can hear at 146 that she says, no midnight in Paris, which, was that a clue to the fact that Paris would be the night that she would add TTPD? I don't think so. I actually think that if you watch the movie Midnight in Paris, it is truly about an author who gets caught up in his own nostalgia for a previous time. He goes back into that time period, the 1920s of Paris, and realizes that he's meeting all of his icons like Hemingway and Fitzgerald. And you know what? It's not that great.
They all
suck. That's exactly what she's saying. Like,
yeah,
no midnight in, you know, nostalgia is a mind's trick. No midnight in Paris. Like, this isn't midnight in Paris. It's not this magical world we can just escape to. And it's the exact metaphor of, if I'd been there, I'd hate it. And I think she might have chosen not to include it because of Woody Allen. So,
she's probably the right choice.
Yeah, like, I bet she was probably like not really considering that because it's the perfect sort of lyric. But I mean, Woody Allen is the director of Midnight in Paris, which pains me because I love that movie. It's hard not to watch that movie.
And I can totally see Paris. Can see Taylor loving that movie as well.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite movies, which sucks because
that does suck.
Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a time. But yeah.
It's so random. But that was only happening in like the first like few days, right? It must have been.
Yeah, I don't think you can listen to it anymore. Yeah. So, whoops. Oopsies.
Oh well.
All right.
So,
all right, chorus 2.
Chorus number 2.
All right. Lunar Valleys. Here it is.
I hate it here, so I will go to lunar valleys in my mind. When they found a better planet, only the gentle survived. I dreamed about it in the dark. The night I felt like I might die. No mid-sized city hopes and small town fears. I'm there most of the year because I hate it here.
So she changes from Secret Gardens to Lunar Valleys.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's a book equivalent that's very obvious the way that Secret Garden did. So a lot of people were saying that Lunar Valleys might be representative of Midnights because she uses a lot of imagery of like stars, and she used her and Joe's like astrology signs in the Lavender Haze music video.
Yeah.
I mean, we also know that she did the alien abduction metaphor in Down Bad, but I think like if you watch the Lavender Haze music video, there's definitely like stars in the sky and this escapism into your relationship. So that could be another.
And the whole concept of Midnights is her you know, thinking back on like sleepless nights. And this chorus says, I dreamed about it in the dark the night I felt like I might die. Like, that's intense.
Yeah. This
yeah, so again, if she was trying to escape her relationship, and then Midnight seemed to be her processing album, then that line kind of makes sense. So with the Lunar Valleys, I picture a brain with the crevices and valleys on like the texture of a brain. So I kind of read it as going like deep into her mind.
Oh, interesting.
The Lunar Valleys in my mind.
Oh, okay.
Literally
all right.
These valleys on her brain.
Yeah.
But that's also me being a very visual person.
I think like, you know, an imaginary world that most children go to, it's like we go to a magical forest or we go to outer space. Like those are two very childlike sort of imaginary worlds. So
yeah,
I think, you know, she could have kept Secret Gardens the same again, but obviously she wanted to depict another situation. I have to be real raw with you for a second. The line, I dreamed about it in the dark the night I felt like I might die. Oh my God. Like the honesty, like okay, we sit here and we are like, is this about Joe? Is this about Maddie? Meanwhile, Taylor is like telling us about how like she basically is considering suicide. That she feels like she is going to die of whatever. So like, as someone who has used escapism tools like books, and like in high school for me it was music. Like I would put Pandora on because that's all I had at the time was Pandora radio stations. Do you remember that time when like we couldn't make playlists to listen to? Like it had to be Pandora. And I would sink into my own depression and my own sadness, and the only thing that like pulled me through was like some of these songs that were like illustrating my feelings and illustrating like things. And I kept thinking like how so many songs helped me through some of my saddest times. And I think about how she dreamed about this place in the dark the night that she felt like she was going to die. I've been there.
Yeah.
Like I've been there. I've used escapism of music, of books, but especially music, like in the middle of the dark as a coping mechanism to escape from my own darkness and my own sadness. Like that is a really, really, really clear-cut depiction that I was like, it hit at a chord like where it pinged me.
Yeah.
I didn't cry the way you cried for Grief cereal, but that was something where I was like, wow, I hadn't remembered that feeling for a long time, or like imagining myself in the bed doing that. And I'm like,
like little Laura.
Oh my God. I know. Like, it's going to be okay. But like using a coping mechanism, whether it's an imaginary world or music, and like how it helps you escape is like, I think a very shared experience. But for whatever reason, this lyric like really hit. And I thank you, Taylor, because that is a real one. And also I love the way that she says, I might die. Like it's so raw.
What do you think she means by the line, when they found a better planet, only the gentle survived? Because like, I don't know.
So the line before that is
I hate it here, so I will go to Lunar Valleys in my mind. When they found a better planet,
found another planet,
only the gentle survived.
I mean, I take it as like, I imagine a world like a far off planet where like when people discovered it, like all the sucky people went away and only the good people can survive here. And that's where I'm going to live the rest of my life because this is a better place. That's how I take it.
That makes sense, because then she says, I dreamed about it in the dark the night I felt like I might die. So she's like, she's going to this better place, this better planet where only the gentle survived. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Where she can finally belong and, you know, have a place.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the bridge.
Okay.
The bridge.
We love a bridge.
All right, here we go. We love a bridge.
Only, but I'm good. I'm bitter, but I swear I'm fine. I'll save all my romanticism for my inner life, and I'll get lost on purpose. This place made me feel worthless.
Okay, the way she sings, I'll get lost on purpose. This place made me feel worthless. That is one of my favorite moments in this song, just musically. And I love to sing along with the
I might die.
But at that part I like to sing the higher harmonies. So I think that part's really pretty.
The line, I'll save my romanticism for my inner life. Like, stab me in the heart. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Also, like, is like the place, like this place made me feel worthless. Like, is she talking about like the world, or is she talking about?
Yeah, that's like, what I want to know. Like, again, is she talking about her relationship with Joe? This place made me feel worthless. Right. Because I think that could make sense based on other songs that, you know, have given us clues. Hello, Tolerate It. Yeah. But also it could be like being in isolation. You know, like maybe she felt really worthless during COVID and like that kind of time where she couldn't kind of be doing her thing out in the world like she normally could. But also her fame. Like, it's crazy to have the kind of fame that she has, but it's also extremely lonely. And she's dealt with, like, I mean, again, going back to the Reputation time, I can't imagine just getting daily death threats at 7 a.m. every morning on your Instagram photos.
No, so can't fathom it.
Yeah.
It might be all of the above. Like, I think sometimes when we read lyrics, we try to find like the exact right thing that it might be. And like the process of writing is not that clear cut. Like sometimes you have a clear image, and then sometimes it's just this mishmash of all these different feelings and experiences. And I think like this place made me feel worthless could be feeling lonely in a relationship, and it can also mean how she feels worthless because fame threw her into the spotlight and then cast her aside like she was nothing. Like, it can be all of those things. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And I bet it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I love lyric analysis. It doesn't matter as long as we're able to like sleuth it out. And then the second half of the bridge, it has tons of quill words like this.
Lucid dreams like electricity. The current flies through me, and in my fantasies I rise above it. And way up there, I actually love it.
So good.
Yeah. Lucid dreams.
Like, I love that because like lucid dreams feel real. Like, it's when you're in a dream, but like you're in control. Yeah. So it feels extremely real. So it feels electric. Like I'm able to do whatever I want. And in this like fantasy, like I'm able to rise above all my circumstances, and I'm able to like rise above everything and conquer the world. Yeah. And it's only in your imagination, girl.
Right.
So
yeah. Oh, that's good too.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So like being a music nerd about this song, I love Aaron's little count-in that he does.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this was one of those things, because we know that Aaron sends her like voice notes and then she'll reply in a voice note with like, I really like this. Here's what I came up with. So he's writing some like harmonies or chord structures, and then she just sort of like riffs off of that. I wonder if he wrote the guitar part, because the guitar part that's repeated throughout da 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 da, that sounds very national to me, like the National to me.
Yeah.
And I love that his little soft count-in at the beginning, it's like so stripped back. It's very vulnerable and quiet. Like I didn't hear it until I was actually really listening for this episode. I was like, oh, he counts in. Like,
yeah.
Okay. And like, if you pay attention, this is like the coolest thing to me. The song starts and it's a generic microphone, like volume level, whatever. But about halfway through, when she's like in the peak of describing other worlds, there's this enormous amount of sustain and delay where like everything blurs together and it feels like you're getting engulfed in your secret garden. It's all like smeary and like a lot of like this sustained delay, and like it's just going on and on and on and on. And that to me is like so getting lost in your imagination and your thought. It becomes like this swirling world and sound, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And if you haven't listened to the Dolby stems, which are on YouTube, if you don't have Apple Music, like check them out. It is so gorgeous to listen to this song.
Well, so a couple like music theory things that I loved in this song are the way she sings, I hate it here, so I will go to secret gardens in my mind. Has a very sing-songy melody to it, which doesn't quite fit the sentiment of I hate it here. So that I see that as a parallel to her feeling awful, but escaping to another reality to like pretend she's fine. And just, you know, imagine she's somewhere else. So it's almost like this song, because it's like, I hate it here. You know, like that's not how you would actually say it. If you and also the guitar strumming in the background, like kind of the production similar to what you were talking about. To me, it sounds like a breeze blowing through a garden. So like, especially in the beginning, it's a little more soft, but then that swell that you talk about, it's like a big gust of wind goes and like all the leaves and flowers are moving. Maybe flower petals are floating off of, you know, a bush and stuff. And yeah, it just has that lush quality to it that puts you in this like secret garden place. This is the kind of stuff like if I was writing a song and producing it, I don't know if I would think of all this, you know, but they're so good at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. They know what they're doing. It's definitely very it's illustrative of like, being in this imaginary, beautiful world. The orchestration, like all of it is just like so beautiful. I forgot to pull out the songs or the sections for our favorite lyrics, but can we just read them?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
So
favorite lyrics.
My favorite lyric is nostalgia is a mind's trick. If I'd been there, I'd hate it. It was freezing in the palace. So this really speaks to me because I did romanticize those kind of like historical romance novels, like, you know, Pride and Prejudice, but also even like older stuff, you know, some kind of princess in a palace. And yeah, it probably was freezing and you had to like pee in a bedpan in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You know, like it was, I would have hated it if I was actually there. Like the corsets, the outfits, like, I mean, I am in sweatpants 24/7 as much as I can be. There's no way I would be lounging around or like walking through a garden in a full dress getup. I would be like, get me out of this.
Yeah, you would we'd all hate it.
Yeah.
That's why nostalgia is a mind trick. Like,
yeah.
It's freezing.
Yeah, it's freezing in the palace. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite lyric is, I'll save all my romanticism for my inner life, because that's been felt. So yeah, and I also feel like that's like the thesis statement for the whole song. Is like, outside the world sucks, but I'm gonna save all that romanticism for this world.
Yeah.
In my head. So
yeah.
Your rating of this song?
So I give it a 7.5 out of 10, because for me, it's great. I do love it. But right now, it's not cream of the crop for me. But it's a very high bar. So
yeah, it's true. I think we can agree that this is a quill pen song. Like, I feel like we should categorize our songs. This is a quill pen.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe like a slight edge of, what's the other pen? Not glitter gel
fountain pen.
Maybe a smidge of fountain pen.
Yeah.
But mostly quill. I don't think this is a shock to anyone who's listened this far, but like, this song is it for me. It like basically illustrates my brain at times of my life. So this song is a 10 out of 10, mostly because I deeply connect to the subject of maladaptive daydreaming. So
right.
You
know, I think this song may actually be a fountain pen song about her writing quill pen songs.
It's getting meta.
Yeah, because I think she said quill pen songs. It's like she imagines herself writing in like the 1830s, like as another character. So I think this song is technically more true to her and her life and self-reflective. So I think it's a fountain pen song about writing quill pen songs. And that is that is my final answer. Oh.
Okay.
So what about this song as a recipe?
I said that this song is hot mint tea when it rains outside.
Okay. I don't know why when you wrote mint tea, I pictured cold mint tea, like in the summertime.
It could be cold. I'm just imagining, like, do you know, like when you like curl up with a book and it's like the perfect vibe when it's like, it's raining outside, it's drizzling, and like you have a cup of tea?
Yeah.
Like, it's giving vibey escapism. But if we are having cold mint tea, like ice mint tea in a garden while the sun is like dappled light, I could also see that.
Or like, you know, I feel like a lot of English cottage type houses have the doors that go straight out to the garden, kind of like what are they called? French doors? What are they called?
Yeah, they're the two doors, they go like that.
Yeah.
French doors,
that go out to like a patio or a garden or something. So imagine like sitting just inside on like a summer afternoon with a rainstorm, but you have like, don't we call it meadow tea out here?
Yeah,
in PA.
Meadow tea.
Some meadow tea while there's like a summer rain shower. I could see that. So similar vibe. I said English tea sandwiches, especially of the cucumber variety.
Yes.
Like a garden sandwich.
Yes.
Something that you would eat outside while having tea. And I think that very much goes along with her like whole romanticism of past times and stuff, like English tea parties.
Oh yeah. Like in a secret garden, you're gonna have English cucumber sandwiches. Like that is just the vibe. Yeah. With mint tea. So we're on the same vibe.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun.
This was very fun. I love doing this. And we're gonna do it again next time with So Long London.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited for.
We're just doing all the depressy stuff.
All the depressing British-y kind of stuff.
Yeah. So Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Oh yeah.
Lots of research to do before next episode because that's a heavy one. That's a heavy one.
It is a heavy one.
Yeah, and it'll definitely be recorded before she is performing in England, before she is in London. I'll be interested to see, after we record, if that's going to be,
Are we getting a So Long London Boy mashup?
That would be unhinged.
Yeah.
That would be...
I will say, I
crazy.
do think she will perform So Long London at her last London show. Because obviously.
Right. Makes sense. I would be shocked if she doesn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's ever going to do London Boy, period.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Who knows?
Anyway, so thank you all so much for joining. And if you would like to support the pod, please give us a follow at Blank Plate Pod on TikTok and on Instagram.
Also, please leave a review if you don't mind.
We don't talk about that, but it helps out a lot. It
does help. And then you can check out our website at blankplatepodcast.com. And please send us an email at blankplatepod@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 717-382-8313 to share all of your Taylor thoughts.
And until then, we've had the time of our lives with you.
And it's time to go. So
bye.
Bye.